how about second call on anybody? Third call, and last. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Was it 4 minutes? At 4 minutes, we'll start the regular meeting. No, can't hear you.
But I think if they don't all sell, then you can come in.
Now we can see if we can hear everybody for sure.
I said that, I think there's somebody who would know. So I'll let you
I was
know.
told she was being
Let me
shot.
know if there's anything else you need. Yeah.
Rookie.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so that.
But I
was asking the person I talked to the most.
But Vicky, you know, she lives in my chain. Usually she would help me something like that.
Right.
Especially given that I was there for 4 hours yesterday.
I didn't hold a lot
That'll
of
work.
faith in the statement.
Yes,
I did.
Electronic chief.
see ya.
That would be so funny. Yes.
You should be,
I can stay away.
then you get an email from him saying that you're interested.
I know I tried to call
Is
him.
it true that the governor is mandating the house to endorse that?
I don't know what the circumstances.
Beginning immediately or?
What I understand.
Probably a good idea.
I think you put it out there, in my opinion, to protect you, Bozeman. Because people in Bozeman are you ready to get on the boat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we want to hear.
There goes
Bye,
the
Chief.
siren.
Bye-bye.
Come back and visit us again.
I'll be back.
You planned that, didn't you? Man, I need one of those sirens.
What's that service called, Brent? Oh, yeah.
I got lost. But yeah, I'm like,
We'll start the regular meeting of the City Council at 7 o'clock on July 15th, 2020 to order. How about Todd leading us in a pledge?
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Just for everybody's information, before we really get started on the fun night, Zoom, I think Zoom is gonna work. There's a piece of hardware that I cannot replace just right fast with. And so I think I have a Band-Aided, we'll find out. I'm hoping you guys all in the Zoom can hear, you know, and I hope, and we can kind of hear you, you might have to talk louder though. So you can kind of hear you some,
I can hear and see everybody, I believe.
and we can hear you too.
The chief, I heard momentarily and saw momentarily. I haven't heard or seen anything they've said.
Lucky you.
I think if you hit the minus button, chief, you can be over in the corner with me.
Okay, we'll start.
The plus of that is we, as Zoomers, we can tell if it's working for either one of us. Otherwise, I don't know if that's working for you.
Can you guys hear me still?
Yeah?
I can hear you now and I can see you now, but you're taking up the entire screen, so if you hit the minus, I think you compress your visual into the phone.
Can the council see me?
Yes.
Oh, we're good then, all right.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. Okay, first item is minutes. Move to approve. Second. Been moved by Dan, seconded by Matt, I think. Discussion?
I have an amendment.
Okay.
I'd like an amendment, please, to show that I did not participate in any votes after C.3 point due to a Zoom failure.
Okay. I will add that. Any other? Call for the question. The question's been called for to approve the regular minutes of July 1st, 2020, as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that as unanimous. I have no petition communications, except I found out that it's October 7th to the 9th is the Leagues of Cities and Counties meeting. That was a question people had, found that out. Mayor's report. Approve a resolution of the City Council of the City of Dillon authorizing the mayor to contract for sale the surplus properties and to finalize and execute all requisite documents to accomplish said sale. What this is about is, I know the resolution was passed last time was to set up, and after the auction sales went on, then we'd have to come back to the council and authorize. This document, I believe, authorizes me that once the sale's done and it meets minimum bid or above, then I have the authority to sign and finalize the sale at the auction. If you guys put it in here, haven't talked to anybody about it.
Move to approve.
Second. Bill made the motion, and was it Don or Matt? Second. Discussion.
I think this is a good idea, because if you make someone come from out of town to bid on something, pay for it, and then make them wait until Monday afternoon or Monday night, they're not gonna wanna come bid on it.
Yep.
And really realistically, if we get the minimum bid out of everything on here, there's just that much less stuff we gotta worry about. It's out of our hands. We've been fooling with this stuff some of this stuff for 8-10 years.
Well, it might help me buy it with us.
Excuse me, Raymond?
Yes.
Can you lower your microphone?
or get closer, or bring it to you. Yeah.
Don't fear
I
it.
can't hear Raymond.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
on item 6 and 7, the price tags are just for information only, correct? They're not minimum bid amounts.
I mean, item 7 and 8.
Yeah, 6 has an added.
Oh, I'm sorry, 7 and 8, you're right.
That's great, it's not, that's what it's selling for, I just said that's what it says, so that you kind of have an idea. I have no idea even what a head stall is, but okay. So,
it could start.
hey, I'm not an agricultural person.
It could start at $1 and sell for $1.
That's right.
Right.
It's just, this is what they were selling it for in the store.
Great.
So who knows?
Mr. Mayor, on item number 4, did we figure out the capacity of the high pressure pump?
We're still looking, I was hoping that at that point I would have know it that I don't now know.
Okay, thank you.
Because I'm also waiting for the fire chief to go and look at it too.
Very
But-
good.
Well, actually, it's in the wrong way, it's over there. But before it goes, and I would tell people, you know, that the pump has been sold, and I don't know, at that point, if the pump is off the list, is there a price that we should, for minimum bid, and we can tell them at that auction, if the chief, the fire department wants the pump?
All for the truck.
Yeah, for the truck, the one, the pumper, that 87 Ford back truck. If the pump is okay for the fire department, we can just let them take it to use. What would the truck work, what would be the minimum bid for the truck, and we can just state them there that,
I would think 1,500.
I was gonna recommend 1,500 myself.
okay, you have a motion to amend it
Move to amend to show $1,500 for item number 4 without the pump.
without the pump.
Okay, second.
It's been moved by Don, seconded by Raymond. Any further discussion?
How's the question?
Question's been called for to change unit number 4, that if the pump is not in the list, then the price, the minimum price drops to 1,500. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Okay. I take it to say, Rich, what did you go?
Pardon me?
Which way did you go?
I voted nay.
Mary Jo?
Yay?
Raymond?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Got 6 ayes, 1 nay, it passes. So it's 1,500 without pump. And I'm only, it's without if they take, the fire department takes the pump. Otherwise, and I'll try to get the numbers to state them at the auction, what they are for the pump on it.
So, that I understand, the truck is being auctioned off at a minimum bid of 1,500 if the fire department wants the pump.
Yes,
If they don't want the pump, then we're including the pump with the sale and the minimum bid is 3,000.
yes.
There is not an option of selling just the truck and just the pump.
Well, what happens if nobody pays, let's just say, for example, nobody pays for the pump, you know, for the minimum,
Mhm.
but they do on the truck. I really have no need for the pump. So we'd be
Okay.
stuck with the pump.
So it's just one
They're
or
gonna
two
lease.
options.
That's how I would see it.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're gonna have another surplus item.
Yes. Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes?
with that clarification, I'd like to change my vote to aye.
So then it's a unanimous vote. Truck is 1,500.
Is the council fine with changing I'm fine.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll work.
Okay, we'll change your vote to aye.
Mr. Hazelbaker, is it possible to get a picture of the head stalls and horse reins?
Sure.
I've got some out-of-town buyers that are interested.
Can you? I wanted some.
And we're going to try to have a picture. We also put in the notice that they can come and look at it, but we're gonna have a picture of every item sitting down at the park too. And those will try to have the items down there, the reins and the head stalls, parking meters. But item 1 through 6 is probably gonna just stay out at the lagoon or wastewater treatment plant, whatever you wanna call it. Just because they're too big to keep moving around.
Nick Kuchek took pictures this morning of all the vehicles out in the lagoon and is giving them to Stacy, and Stacy's gonna work her magic with them to get them out to the public. So they'll be on the website.
Yeah, we've had several businesses around town have donated auctions for the items for the live auction. I don't know what they are yet, but I will put a poster together with all the surplus items plus whatever live auction items have been donated. We'll try to get that out like Monday of next week.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay, now we put question on the resolution.
Okay. The question's been called for to approve the resolution as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Okay. Let's start. Don,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Raymond,
Aye.
Mary Jo,
Aye.
Rich.
Nay.
That's 6 ayes, 1 nay. The motion passes to approve the resolution as amended. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question now concerning the auction sale? If council people go and bid on the auction, is that a conflict of interest because we approved the sale?
I don't believe so, is it? Because it's an open auction for
It's an open auction. Anybody could outbid
I
it.
just wanted to double check.
Yeah, so as long as you meet the
outbid me,
minimum.
then I'll.
Okay, next item, citizens' request. We'll just pause a little bit. I gotta scratch my nose. I hate these things. I'll just pause a little bit, let you guys look it over and ask any questions.
The last item on the sheet on the back, where is the stop sign that's blocked by a tree?
Where Mr. Mayor, wouldn't that be the, I called and spoke with you about it, and it would be in the 400 block of Idaho. It was Marie Pierre's home, but she sold it.
This is this is
Because it says at 595, and I was trying to figure out what's
I know. I
595.
don't know what that is.
my proofreader, Miss Barnett. It's 595 Barnett.
Oh, it is, okay.
On item 11044?
Yes, sorry, I just didn't get Barnett typed in there. My proofreader missed it.
Ah. So the one Mary Jo's reference to is a separate item.
That was down.
Yeah,
That's taken care of. I think that was.
What happened on that one?
I didn't catch the number.
11044 last, 11044 last item on. Yes, everybody said?
Nope.
Yeah.
We didn't hear you, Rich. Say it again.
He said you can't talk over at the same time.
My question was, I didn't catch the number change reference, but we were talking about a tree that's in front of the post office.
Yes. And the number's 11044.
Rich, it is located at 595 Barnett Street. Barnett Street.
Where is that?
We'll get you a map.
It's on the west side, it's over Thompson, Kentucky, Barnett.
Because you said it was in front of the post office. That is all the way to
The post office is who made the request.
The request, yeah.
The request came from the post office.
So the actual location 3 is after that.
Yes.
Thank you.
So actually at 595 Barnett, there's actually a drain issue as well? Is that just ironic or what?
Yeah, that was, they came a little earlier after when we had those major rainstorms. It got backed up in that area. The guys paid attention to it. And it was gone within a day. It was one of those.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes?
may I offer a suggestion as far as since it's difficult for me to understand when to interject so that I'm not interrupting anyone else, and likewise we're having problems getting in as far as my talking. Would it be possible at the end of the discussion just to ask if there's any Zoomers that wish to have any items for discussion, and I can be assured of having an opportunity at that point without getting
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes?
there is an option that Mr. Wassel would have. If right in your lower corner, Rich, there is a pen, and you just click on the pen, and you can type your question, and the mayor will get it.
I believe you're operating on a different system than I am on Apple.
Yeah, I'll ask you at the end of this discussion, to make sure that we got you covered, okay?
Thank you.
Is there any other questions on the citizen's request?
I do have one question, Todd. This is kind of directed at you. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if I recall correctly, 2 weeks ago, we had a meeting and we asked about animal control. And then I looked through this and all of the animal controls are still listed as not yet up. Has anything come about the last meeting till now, or?
Chief Kyverson and I had informal discussions about that position, responsibilities, but we haven't had a chance really to formally sit down and discuss it face to face.
So it's still kind of a work in progress?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
But we both of us are on the same page working towards.
Okay. All right.
And then some of these have been addressed. I know I visited with Nick quite extensively about reporting and getting on these, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I didn't get in as Todd was gone Monday, and that's when we had to get the packet out. And so I didn't have the chance to give it to him since he's gone all day. So that's Todd's fault. I'm not. I'm just explaining why.
It was my fault.
It's not really your fault, we're just blaming you.
Okay. I feel better.
Well, did you get my message? I sent you a message, I don't know, right after the last council meeting. I didn't hear back from you.
I didn't hear what he said.
You sent out a message right after the last council meeting, but that not heard back.
To me or to Todd?
To me.
Todd. Okay.
Okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
All right, perfect. Thanks, guys.
Okay, we're moving on.
Okay, guys, one item.
Okay?
Item 11, sewer streets, there's an address correction, it's 481.5
number of the?
So 11037.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Correct.
It should be, yeah, 481, 481 and a half.
Instead of 182.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Okay, we're moving on. Reports of officers, boards of the city library board. Matt or Lori, you're both here.
I'll let Lori go.
Do you have to approve anything? Do you have to approve anything?
No.
No?
We had no meeting, well, we had a meeting, kind of had a meeting. We had a couple of phone conversations, but not necessarily meetings with that concept.
No, because we didn't vote on anything.
And so we had our minutes, but Lori, maybe that she's here, can bring us up to speed on what's going on in the library and some changes.
Okay, so in the library, it is 100% required that you wear a mask when you step into the library. If they don't have a mask, they can buy one for $2, or they have the option of leaving the library, or going and getting a mask and coming back. So we have not had a whole lot of problems with it. We've had a couple of people that were resistant towards it.
So I didn't know I could make that much money.
Oh yeah, we find money everywhere. We actually got a $2,000 grant because we are a census library champion. However, we can't do much with the census at this time. So they still told us to use the money, and hopefully we can plan and prepare. So we're looking at the end of September of trying to do a census gathering, party, whatever, just have cookies and punch and have people come in if they need help filling out their census paperwork. So with that, the library has 2 iPads that we ordered, and then the state library paid for a year of hotspot. So we have a T-Mobile hotspot. We have 3 of them in the library right now that are able to check out. So that's been interesting. There's nothing really in the children's room except for books. We are continuing to do our Thursday activities, but they have been revised as well. So it's going to look a little bit different tomorrow we actually have the fire department, the police department, and the ambulance coming. It's Knights and Heroes, so we're doing medieval knights and modern day heroes is what we're doing, is our theme. So hopefully we'll be able to move people around so that everybody's socially distanced correctly and the kids still get some sort of enjoyment out of their summer. The Renaissance group is meeting tonight to see if they're still going to come and do a demonstration for the library. They were supposed to come next Thursday, and then they were doing their big Renaissance show out at Stan Smith's place. As of this morning, Stan Smith's event was canceled, so I did talk to them, and they said that they were going to meet tonight. We have a COVID plan, and the health department has approved that COVID plan, so I told them that, so we'll see if they come down. But they're supposed to do demonstrations of like sword fighting and axe throwing and all kinds of cool things, right? So it'll be a lot of fun. We have a storyteller that's dressing up, and we have a musician that's going to be walking around playing the guitar. So it should be a lot of fun for the kids. Hopefully we can socially distance and do our parade still through town. We're asking everybody to wear masks, and they have to sanitize their hands and wear gloves during food and books and all that kind of stuff. So things have changed a little bit, but we're still hoping to finish next week and finish our summer reading program with a success. And we are still doing the movie on the 24th in the park at 10 p.m. As soon as the sun sets, we have a movie playing. It's Call of the Wild, with the new one with, is his name Harrison Ford? Harrison Ford. So we'll have that in the park as well. Do you guys have any questions so far?
Could you do the axe throwing and why that problem created 595 Barnett?
That would be a lot of fun. That would be a lot of fun. it solved the problem, right?
Right.
So I'm hoping that the knights come, because they're gonna dress up in all their regalia and do their sword fighting and stuff like that. So I think it'll be a lot of fun.
On Friday morning, did you call Nick Gucek, just to remind him to turn off the sprinkler system, please? We've already talked about it, but I just want to make sure that, so we don't have a situation with, like we had with Mr. Schaefer at the Labor Day concert last year.
Yes, I will make, yes. Well,
Okay,
they came
he knows.
on, they actually came on when we were setting up for last year's movie. And we had to call and have him come down to turn off.
Okay, and I just want to make sure we've talked about it already, but.
Yes.
And a final reminder would be good for all of us.
That's good, I'll put that in my phone so I don't forget.
Rich, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Lori, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
You good? Has the advertisement been drafted yet for voice board position?
Yes, the advertisement went out and we are done with the advertisement and we had one person so far. So Alice Wassel resigned from the library board and we have somebody that is interested. So, and the board's talked about it. That wasn't on your agenda, so we weren't going to talk about it tonight. We're going to talk about it next time. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Does anybody else?
Anything else?
All right, you guys have a lovely
Okay,
evening.
I'm gonna go. City Attorney, Mr. Dolan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city attorney's office has been busy throughout the pandemic. I think a few weeks ago I promised the statistics. I kind of cobbled some together. I had the capable assistance of Deb Pierce. So from the months of June and half of July through today, we had 51 new misdemeanor cases. And resolved 18 cases during that same time period. So I do have it broken down, however, I'm going to not go through that because it'll be different. People all would like the information for specific types of cases. I've been working with Mr. Cornell and the planning board on Tully Springs and currently in the process of drafting a staff report with Mr. Hazelbaker's assistance for the planning board, the rest of the project, trying to move things forward. That's, as everybody knows, that's a 41-year old mess. I think we're trying to really put our best foot forward and get that to some sort of successful conclusion. Other than that, I'd be happy to take questions.
Is there any questions for Rich?
No.
Okay, thank you. Planning Board, Mr. Hand.
Stacy, could you turn the house sound up just a little bit, please? Thank you. Before you got minutes from the planning board meeting of May 7th, 2020, I ask your acceptance.
Move to approve. Second.
Been moved by Dan, seconded by Bill, discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I was wondering if the planning board had heard back on your request for proposals for the growth policy.
Yes, we have retained an engineering firm. It was in the next minutes.
Okay.
You see.
Oh, and then for next time?
Next time.
As Mr. Dolan mentioned, we're walking through the Tully Springs deal, which is proving to be a bit arduous because there's much direction on the state level for certain. So that's taking a large amount of our time at present, but we'll get that hammered out here hopefully sooner than later. Other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the May 7, 2020 meeting minutes of the planning board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that as unanimous. Anything else? No. Thank you. Zoning Commission.
Move to approve.
Second.
Well, it looks like it's you, Raymond. Since Russ isn't here.
Well, before you'll find the set of minutes from May 12, 2020. I'll ask for your approval.
Moved and Matt. Dan. Seconded. Any further discussion on it?
There's a typo on page 4. First line. Sentence beginning with he didn't learn, I believe means he didn't learn.
Where are we at, Rich?
Page 4, item C. First text line. Second sentence. Beginning with he didn't turn. I believe turn should be learned.
Okay. Got it. Any other changes? Question's been called for to approve the May 12, 2020 meeting minutes of the zoning board or zoning commission as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take that as unanimous. Anything else you want to talk to about, Raymond?
No, we had a meeting here a couple weeks ago, approved a couple more houses. Things are moving forward as slow as everything else.
Okay. Anything else on Zoomers?
No, thank you.
Director of Operations, Mr. Hazley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just some update on a couple things. Positive thing, bus ridership is up. It's gradually going up. We were in April 167, and we were almost 600 in the month of June. So more people are getting out and using the bus. That was great. We just started paving streets starting tomorrow, certain patches that we did last year. We'll be working on those the rest of the summer, getting those taken care of. We'll be working on Vantage Street tomorrow, Vantage and Nelson Street area. And then just kind of an update, as I mentioned in the past, is that the college in the state of Montana has a project in lowering the sidewalk in front of Old Main. Is that for me? That project is currently out for bid. So that's the most current update with that project. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Could you repeat where that location was again?
It's in front of the college, the Old Main.
Oh, okay.
They're looking at lowering the sidewalk down basically to street level.
Yeah.
And then next year, the state's going to come in and do work actually on the street itself. And try to make it more accessible to the off streets like Clark.
Mr. Haysbaker, do you know the importance of the rocks in the wall? Yes.
Mr. Cotton has told me that they are going to try to keep as many of the rocks as they can.
Why?
for historical purposes.
Okay, I wonder what the historical purpose for.
That I do not know.
Okay, thank you.
That's one of the things, 2 years ago, I think, when the state came down with their team and went through the committee on the project and they're looking from Helena Street and then up one. They have a historian with them. They're the MDT's historian. And she checked and they evaluate things. And they look at the wall and they think that that's a historical.
It seems like an unnecessary expense, that's why I was curious. It's not our money to worry about, so I don't care.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's your money.
I think it's our money.
Just not on this budget.
Okay, move on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Police Department, Chief Giverson.
Thank you. I would ask the council to approve the officer activity report for 2020.
Move to approve. Second. It's been moved by Dan, seconded by Matt. Discussion.
Chief, I really like your overtime hours this month.
Get used to it.
Well, the only thing is you didn't tell them, was that hours, days, or weeks?
By the end of this, it might be months, actually, I don't know.
Call for a question.
Question's been called for to approve the activity report for June 2020 for the police department. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that as unanimous. Anything else you want to tell them what's going on?
Yeah, a couple of things. Working on, our budget right now. I deal with a lot of COVID issues. People symptomatic, getting tested for, in the department, with pulling them out, or family member and stuff. So there is an issue with that, doing shifts. So we are dealing with that, as everyone else is. We're dealing with policy. I'm looking at rewriting policies. And one thing that I'm looking at is today the governor came out with his recommendations and basically his orders about a few different things. Mask being one of them, and it gave law enforcement the issue, or gave law enforcement, which I think we had probably anyway, not we at all, but the issue to cite people that aren't wearing masks. I would just hope that you guys would not, that position is not a political deal with me whatsoever. I won't even tell you where I stand, because it's probably opposite of what I want to do, but I would just hope that you guys wouldn't put me or any of the officers in a position. So in next council meeting, I would really appreciate it for my benefit and the officers to wear masks as the governor's order.
Chief, did you happen to hear the conversation on 100.7 this morning with the police chief of Bozeman? He was on the radio talking about, you might look that up on the 100.7 XL. You might find it interesting. He talked about how his officers are not going to be wearing masks.
Well, that's why he's opposed and I'm here. Rich, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, if we're ready.
Sure.
Well, I support whatever the chief decides for his department. But let me just give you a historical perspective a little bit. 100 years ago, 1918, 1920, if you go back and look at photos back then of sporting events, public events, everybody's wearing masks in the stands. The players playing baseball and the football players are all wearing masks. My grandfather being one of them that played for Washington University. So it's different times when we had pretty much universal in step agreement with the public of what to do. And I realize we have different times now, but eventually, we've got to use the tools that we've got, and unless we have some enforcement ability to do that, then they just become hollow requests rather than orders.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Chief?
No, I don't think so. Actually, you know what, I do want to take this opportunity maybe to say something too, I guess. I respect each and every one of you guys. I respect what you do. I respect the fact that you're on the council, and I don't know that I'd be doing it if I wasn't getting paid to be in the position. So I appreciate it, and I have a lot of respect for that. But along with that, I would just like to remind, or even bring up another issue of looking at the council and what your guys' responsibility is, and what your responsibility is in regard to my position. Just basically that my supervision is only by the mayor. I've had some issues. I'm not going to air them out right now, but my sole supervisor is the mayor. I'm beholden to the community. I'm beholden to the laws and ordinances. And any suggestions or I'm always willing to talk, and I like the banter after the city council meeting, which I miss fully. At this times and what we're doing with Zoom and everything like that, from here on out, if you have a suggestion for me, or if you have an opinion on how the department should be ran, or your views on that, I would respectfully ask you to either email them to me, but I would be more than happy to email them to the mayor, or brought them up to the mayor to bring to my attention first. I think a lot of times we get messed up in nuances and stuff. And like I said, with this mask issue, I'm not being apolitical about it. It's become a political issue. I'm just doing what I swore to do. And it may not even match what my personal beliefs are, but unfortunately that's what we have to do. And I've always been asked by you guys and by the community to follow the law, do what the law states, be an example, even when we don't agree with it. So I would just really hope that you guys put me in a position, do it for me, whether you believe it or not, just so we can get through this without having a big issue. Mask wearing or not mask wearing, because it's going on all over the country, and nobody's getting anywhere with it. So I would just ask you to take it for what it's worth.
Okay, any questions?
I guess I do. I wasn't informed about the governor's new directive until I got here tonight. Can somebody shed light on what that new directive is?
I'll get you a copy, sir. I have it printed.
That'd be great. Thank you.
He pretty much said if you're in a business, if you're in a business, down there, everywhere out there, you gotta wear a mask.
But Chief had commented something earlier on. Has he been given a directive that he has to cite people that aren't wearing a mask in town?
Yeah,
what that was?
If you read it, I believe it says that law enforcement is able to use, there's a couple of different laws that they are able to use, but the next sentence says, we hope that law enforcement will take this opportunity to educate and inform people as to the benefits and of wearing a mask. So it's very flexible for law enforcement to do a lot of education.
I just educated.
What's that?
I just educated you guys.
Okay.
And the big thing is, you're always making an assumption here that the governor has the power to do what he just did. And he might not. But nobody's going to make that decision until a court comes up, or the Attorney General makes an opinion on it.
Well, the community makes the decision also, so.
That's true. It's like Bozeman and Butte, it sounds like there's some people that are on the council that might have had problems getting out alive out of some of their meetings. So it could go that way around Montana. So, not saying that I'm asking for violence, I'm just,
Just one quick comment, as far as the directive, it only applies in counties in which there are 4 or more confirmed and active COVID-19 cases. So, and it also goes on to state that only during the time in which there are 4 or more active cases. So, I guess if you should drop below that, then in theory, it would go away. Whether or not we can rely on statistics, and who knows. So, it's just a comment I wanted to make.
I will not be applying for any warrants for anybody's arrest for not wearing a mask.
and also,
I hadn't seen it, and I heard something. That's all I had.
also, if we would let people from leaving the county, then we'd all be okay. I think damn near every one of them caught it from somebody that's either, that they all went out, caught it and then came back. So, anything else, Chief? Please.
No, I think that's good. Does anybody have anything for me?
Nope, thank you. Fire Department, BJ Posey, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. In your packet, you'll find the city clerk's report for the fire hall for June and the budget versus expenditures for the fire hall for the month of June.
Move to approve. Second. It's moved by Bill, seconded by Dan. Discussion?
Chief, did we get the new truck back? It is finished up, it's ready to go. I just have to get it right to buildings in an appropriate time of day to get it.
I'm assuming that's why the repairs and upkeep was so far over budget compared to everything else?
I don't know if that was,
It's showing that you spent 120% of the budget.
yeah, the budget was only $4,200.
And what this
The
is,
budget was only $3,500. This is other repairs, not that $30,000 repair.
and plus you can say, at the time in July and September, August, in that area, we really don't have, right now we don't even have a preliminary budget, so you're kind of comparing to what last year was. It could very well change. Most likely it will change here. So don't be kind of cautious of comparing until we get at least a preliminary budget, or for sure the final budget. That'll be the first week in September. At that point, then you can compare, that'll show us how far off we are. Because right now, we don't even really have a budget. You guys are going through the process, or you will tomorrow.
Starts tomorrow.
Yeah, starts tomorrow. So we don't really have a budget to compare in the year. You're really kind of comparing to last year. And now we just have to amend that a little bit more. We're not amended to add a little more into there on that. And that's not up for tomorrow's meeting anyway. I gotta get some numbers from BJ.
I just wondered there were some unusual expenses. Usually your budget predictions, Mr. Mayor, are right on, so that's why I was wondering.
Anymore, I have doubts on anything. Any other questions?
Call for the question.
Questions been called for?
Hello.
Rich? Yes, Rich?
I just wanted to compliment the department of these figures are running everywhere near accurate. They're pretty good funding managers.
thank you.
Okay, the question has been called for to approve the city clerk report for fire hall for June 2020 and the budget versus expenditure for fire hall for June 2020. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take that as unanimous. And I heard Rich say aye.
Yes.
Anything else?
Chief, are you having a rather unusual day today? I hear 2 fire calls and I saw a fire engine going up the street just before a council meeting too.
We are doing our annual hose testing tonight. That's one of them. We've got a couple of, well, the call tonight was just a gas smell, or nothing, but we had a multiple trailer house fire on Monday, I think. So it's been a decent week.
And then did you get called out south of town earlier today too? On Sawmill Road?
Yes, there was a burn barrel that got away.
Burn barrels are still illegal, aren't
Yes, they are.
How about, there's one next to the city, with the city dump, I noticed.
I've noticed that as well.
Okay. I didn't know who to report it to though.
We're not, the fire department is not enforcement, so probably the sheriff's department. And the gentleman today was talked about that very same thing.
Anything else? Thank you, Chief. Next item, City Court, Judge Minor.
Good evening, everybody. It's an honor to be here. Mr. Mayor, it looks like maybe April and May didn't get approved, or is that just a typo in the minutes? My April and May report?
Well, April, May, June.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. I'm here to answer any questions. So, hey, and I'm just happy to be here. Thank you, folks.
I take it that's what it was, right? April, May, June? Mm-hmm. And I see you put the state code in on crimes, the different ones, so that way you can figure out what they are.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I did that out of a specific response to a request that came from a person in the public, and I believe somebody on the council wanted to have that particular information. I also brought along a code book. You can always come and check this out. We've got multiple copies, and they're all tabulated. So if you want to learn more about, some people are asking, Councilperson Hand. So if you want to know more, just come and we'll happily loan you out this book. Or you can use the sheets that we provided. We provided the indexes for the different code sections in the Montana Code Annotated. I also provided the subtype guide for Councilperson Hand. And I also included a breakout, or I broke out personally information with what exactly is being charged locally for traffic offenses, because that was pretty important to people. And it is a wide range of offenses that are listed under the traffic heading. So if you would like, I can go through those, but in the interest of time, there's an 8 or 9-page report on the different types of traffic offenses. And then finally, there was a concern that City Court was either not processing or losing traffic citations or ordinance, Dillon Municipal Code ordinance, the parking violations. That is not the case in any way, shape, or form. I went back and confirmed the numbers that I reported last meeting about a month ago. And we have, I believe, only 2 or 3 outstanding traffic citations, meaning we have collected on all of those, and there are over, 9 or 10 pages included in the June report documenting the 194 traffic violations that we have processed appropriately and gotten a result on a disposition. Most of them are bond forfeiture, and there are a few that have been dismissed for good cause. So anyway, just want to make sure you guys know that they're not getting lost. They're getting adjudicated in the way that they need to be.
Judge?
Yes?
This is Tom. I don't know if you can see me or not. I just want to make sure that it said that there was some words that tickets were being lost or something like that. I hope you did. I hope that wasn't coming from our end, because I don't see that at all. I think you're getting everything and doing everything as far as all my records show. So no matter where that's coming from, I can confirm that you're correct, you're doing what you need to do.
Your words, Chief Iverson, are very meaningful, and I appreciate that confirmation from your department. We've always tried to work very, very close. Jim, Officer Iverson, or Chief Iverson, myself. Oh, I'm sorry. It's your stunning looks. You got me tongue-tied.
Sorry, Chief, you said demoted.
Yeah, demoted. Sorry. No, you know I mean that very respectfully, everybody.
I'm just Donnie. I don't even, the chief thing, I don't even, yeah.
Any other concerns or anything from the community, or you, Mr. Wassel, do you have any questions? And I know that community members sometimes have questions too, and I'd be happy to address those either now or at a better time, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am. Excellent job again, Judge. Thank you very much. I looked through your report and I got to the attempts to photocopy the MCA codes, and my eyes started to cross, and they just started down across at this point. So if you could help me out, is there a summary in there? Specifically, I wanted to know the number of seat belts and stop sign infractions during the period.
Well, seatbelt and stop sign infractions, I do not believe were particularly singled out for this report, but I can get you those right away. And let me look real quick. Nope. Now what you're looking at would be on page 7 of June's report, and that's where the different types of citations are detailed. And as you can see, they do not specifically detail seatbelts. I thought maybe they did when I remembered that they detailed speeding, but seatbelts does not get its own line item. I am not able to adjust that in full court, but maybe I can get a trainer out of the court administrator's office to maybe add that line item for you for the next report.
Yeah, I think in the past, the seatbelts have been split up. I'm not sure, but I don't believe the stop signs had. If you could give me that information, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your interest.
Rich, you can look up there in the Dillon Tribune, and you just lost it. So it says it's looking at yeah, so low battery, then shut down.
Unless somebody kicked the plug out. Just hit the power button and it should pop right on you.
I like that long. No signal. Internet's down.
Well, not yet. It'll keep going.
2 o'clock this morning. 2 to about 5.
It'll keep going. I got really good log on. I'll just sign it. Now looks like you gotta just start it. No, you don't have to join, just go over. Start. Take it to the right. Everybody back on, I think. Where's Rich?
Lost Rich.
Did Rich cuss a lot and then left?
No, he didn't cuss. It said all of a sudden that I was the host.
Oh. You know, it automatically reassigns someone to be the host so that you can do like what Stacy did and restart everything.
That's why I put the chair so that we could kick the cable.
There we are.
There it is.
Yeah, I think we just timed that out.
Well, what it is somebody kicked the power cable.
The Zoom should be set up for our meeting.
Somebody kicked the power cable, got unplugged, and battery discharged and turned itself off.
And I have a chair sitting over the plug, so I have no idea how they kicked it. But it happened. Any questions for the judge?
I just want to approve.
Yes,
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Mayor?
Let's move to approve. Second. Okay, Bill made a motion. Dan seconded. Mary Jo has a question. What?
What are we approving?
The judge's report.
Thank you.
Mary Jo.
Judge Minor, thank you for your complete report. I could come in and speak with you personally if you'd like me to, but I wondered if you might ponder the idea. I mean, I went through and looked at the different kinds of citations as well as total cases, and those that seem to be able to be processed through and in some sort of timely manner. And it seems that the traffic offenses seem to go pretty smoothly. And you're clearing up tons of things from backlog. But it is the more serious cases, or the cases that affect people's lives in a more profound way, that seem to be stymied or just do not get prosecuted. And I wonder if that is something that we should, I still can't find a reason for that. And that's been the case. If I look back through my notes, it's been the case for this entire year.
Well, I appreciate your question, and I have a short answer for it. Is that Office of Public Defender appointed defense counsel is only available on, I guess what's called the more serious crimes, the ones that do have a possibility of jail time. And that's likely at least a contributing factor to why those cases take longer to be worked through through the adjudication process. Because attorneys get involved. There's a lot more work by the city attorney's office for discovery, and other hearings are usually held in those cases. And with the more simple traffic violations, such as stop sign violations, passing a school bus, no insurance, expired registration, there's no jail time. So a lot of people say, well, the worst you can do is fine me $135. I'll take that. And that's nothing that the court imposes upon people. We simply read them their rights and give them the opportunity to plead not guilty and go the route that would take longer, as you've identified, or they may just bond forfeit or plead guilty, and they're assessed a fair fine. So that's likely at least part of the answer. Does that help?
I think I'll come in and chat with you.
Okay, sounds like a plan. I'm looking forward to it. Everybody else is welcome as well. Any from you, Councilman?
Yeah, I do have a quick question, Your Honor. You'll have to forgive me in the sense that I think this was typed up pretty fast and I didn't read very fast.
Oh, it's okay.
When I look at page 32, you have provided us with a letter kind of educating us on the proceedings or how people are fined for certain traffic violations. And as I read down through here, I see there's a first offense, and then if it happens again within a calendar year, there's a second offense, and then a third, and so on and so forth. One of the things that I struggle with as a council person is hearing people complain about automobiles that are parked on the city streets, either too many days in a row, not registered with the state or the city, and so on and so forth. And I don't think it was the last council meeting, but I had asked a question, and you and the chief had kind of shared with me that when an officer gives a ticket to an individual that is a bond for them to show up in court to stand before you. Am I correct in that understanding or not?
Not exactly, sir.
Okay.
The ticket, that little piece of paper that the officers put on the vehicle when they're citing someone, is simply an invitation to come to the court. There is no conviction, there is no set fee or bond at that point.
Okay.
And it is simply an invitation. Now, nobody sees that as an invitation. But quite frankly, as a judge, I want to welcome these people into the court, listen to them. A lot of people tell me the whole story, and I say, well, what do you want to do? And they ultimately make a decision. Where there is a quote-unquote recommended bond, which is where if you just want to bond forfeit, remember they can come in and say, I don't want to contest it, I just want to pay, I don't want to see you again, Judge. Because they think that I write the tickets, quite frankly. A lot of people, how dare you? I'm like, I didn't do it! So that is simply an invitation to come in, and that recommended bond, as you see in this letter, if it's a first-time offense, not the people you're hearing the complaints about, not the same old cars we've all seen day in and day out. But for a first-time offense, I discussed with Mr. Dolan and Mr. Giverson, and obviously the mayor is included, and you all are included, because I want you all to have clear understanding and transparency. And so we just said, or I said as a judge, I'm comfortable. If it's a first-time offense, they can just offer them the lowest, absolute lowest pursuant to Dillon's municipal code is $25. I think that's fair. I think we're a welcoming, kind-hearted community. And if someone just had a bad day and parked their car wrong or parked on the sidewalk wrong just one time, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. The habitual offenders, which you will see are included behind.
Page 38.
If you look at the different pages, you can see there are some names that begin to come up more and more. This was not provided for you to embarrass. This is to let you guys know the real numbers of tickets that we are processing regarding traffic or parking violations.
So that leads me to my next question.
Yes, sir.
When I look on page 38, starting with PK 8780, and going on down throughout most of the rest of that page, with the only exception of PK 8799, the same individual is there. And it
Yes.
says that the bond was forfeited after all of those. So to help me understand, a police officer wrote a ticket, put a particular bond on it, that individual came in, spoke with you, forfeited said bond. Was there another penalty assessed to that individual, or was it just the forfeiture of the bond?
Well, in this case, I don't have information on those numerous cases regarding that particular individual, but I will state that that individual paid a separate fine, not a bond, because he
Okay, so there was
came in
a
and saw
fine.
me. He was assessed a separate fine, as are all defendants. For every single conviction, they get a separate fine. So that person paid, as you can see, numerous fines. What I do want to correct you on, and this isn't a correction in like a scolding, but the assessment or the establishment of a fine does not in any way lie within police officers' discretion. They are
You
the...
say that again, a vehicle drove by and
sure thing. And please, Mr. Dolan or Chief Iverson, if you want to weigh in, fines are assessed by the court.
Okay.
And so that is where, if a particular fine may have been recommended by an officer, the court takes that into account. But the court, and only the court, you know, the judge is the only person who can say, well, the fine's going to exactly be this amount. So I can't promise that what was maybe recommended as a bond was what was assessed, but I can assure you that that person did, in fact, pay in every single case. Now, there are still other cases, as you know.
So then that takes me to yet another question.
Okay, sir.
My viewpoint sitting on this council is not necessarily to generate funds for the city. I view fines as a way to use as an incentive to get said individuals to remove certain vehicles from a particular area. And that's kind of why vote and put ordinances in, and it's to keep the city looking nice, and so on and so forth. So if the fine, in my opinion, isn't severe enough to incentivize the individual to move the vehicle, but rather just pay the fine, and I view city council, the mayor, you, the police, everybody to be a cohesive unit to say, this is what our citizens want. They don't want 20 vehicles parked around a particular homestead in the city. So the fine should kind of, pinch a little bit so that they go, oh, maybe I need to move these. Maybe they're serious about this.
Well, here's what's beautiful, sir, is that you are in the appropriate position to make modifications, if you were on the proper committee, to that Dillon Municipal Code fine structure. The court does not do that. That is solely within you all, who are the governing body of this town. So you're in the right place. I mean, seriously.
So is it safe to assume that if we as city council put forward an ordinance in which we all vote on and say the minimum fine is X, and that individual comes before you, you merely have to look at that ordinance and look at that individual and go, I'm sorry, this is the ordinance.
Yes.
This is what you've got to pay.
I have happily been enforcing the ordinances as provided and written by you all to the Dillon City Court from my first day on the job. I will always enforce those ordinances or apply the fine structure as you all direct me to. I'm happy to do that. And actually, another council person at one time asked me a somewhat similar question about, well, how did we get to there? And that's where the kind of the genesis of this letter came from. I was like, oh, wait, they don't see sometimes that I'm held by Dillon Municipal Code. And I respect that code as much as I bet every single person in this room respects our codes. That's why we're here, because we care about our city. And so I will happily enforce what is put in front of me. But as you know, Mr. Councilperson Kenworthy, I'll always back out that door if there's a conversation about ordinances. I don't want to be a part of setting. I'm just the person who will present that information. And I'll take the heat, because I get heat from citizens who come in and they have a problem with something. I'll take the heat, because I will enforce what you all put in there. Promise. I promise I will always do that. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not speaking very well to you all. I hope you could hear.
So, Mr. Mayor, after discussing all that, Judge, we could assume that the gentleman on page 38 with the 23 citations had fines somewhere in the $12,000 realm.
No, it would have been 12,000. The minimum fine was $25.
Right. I'm giving him a pass on 3, and then at $500 for 20 of them.
Well, I will just note, Council Person O'Rourke, that again, this is, as you can see in that letter that we've also referred to, some of these may be first offenses, some of them may be second, some of them may be third. And this individual was fined within the Dillon Municipal Code sentencing regulations. Absolutely, this person was. I don't think it made it to the number that you stated, and there are other pending issues. So there's a lot of work still being done. This, we tackle these as they come in, and we don't take them lightly. We take them very seriously, and so this is one individual who has paid a little bit more than others.
I just wanted to say, I agree with Mr. Kenworthy that that's the reason we have these fines, is as an incentive for people to change, because we don't make the rules lightly. We make them for health and safety reasons. But I thought that, I do serve on that committee, and I thought that we'd written, or that these fines were pretty significant, especially if you got to your 3rd time and it's a $500 fine.
Well, it can be up to 500 if you go back to page 32. And I think that's where you were just lamenting that in that particular situation. So let's do a hypothetical. Chief Diverson goes out and he tickets a vehicle and it's the third offense, and he puts a $500 bond for that individual, for me. It's my third time in the same year. He puts
Same year, same car.
Same year, same car, $500 bond for me to come and visit with you. Do you have the authority as the judge to say, Matt, now this is your third time. I fined you the first time $25, I fined you the second time $100. This time, if you don't act up and if you don't move that car, I'm gonna put you in jail, but right now I'm gonna charge you $250. Can you reduce it from $500?
The ordinance or the municipal code states not less than 100, but not more than 500.
So you have that $400 fluctuation as yes or no?
Absolutely,
Okay.
Councilperson Kenworthy,
Okay.
absolutely. And if that is ever something that you all wish to change, I will deal with what you all give me, absolutely.
Okay.
Also, just one little info, we have no time penalties in our ordinance, no jail time.
Oh, okay, well, I was...
I ignored that hypothetical.
Yeah, it was a hypothetical. I threw that out there.
See, in law school, we would say, right, we would say, well, that's not applicable because it's not the ordinance, but moving on.
But I
So,
like that, moving on.
well, Mr. Russell, I think, has something, maybe.
Okay, you got any, Rich?
Yeah, may I attempt to boil this down quickly so maybe we can move on? I echo Councilman's thoughts and Councilwoman O'Rourke's thoughts. But let me ask you this, Judge.
Oh, yes, sir.
Is there anything in our code that you see that you think we should consider changing to change the formula of either someone that appears repeatedly before your court for the same offense and doesn't seem to get the picture, or any other element of the code that you feel needs to be adjusted so that it's better used as an attitude adjustment for repeated offenses?
Well, thank you for that question, sir. And I will say that just as the Constitution of the United States is a living, breathing document that may be amended, I believe our Dillon Municipal Code is a document that may be amended as well. And that is not a conversation that I will be a part of because of my position, and I really value the separation of our powers in this city. I don't ever want to have, you know, Chief Giverson's responsibilities added onto mine. That would not be, and I don't want to be mayor and judge at the same time. So, long story short, I believe that our governing documents are living and breathing, and they are able to be changed. And I will just serve the public to the best of my ability by always doing what you, as a governing body, inform me to do.
But if you see a tree on fire, would you let us know?
Well, I might overstep my boundaries, but I think that, I think you have some council people who may have identified trees that are on fire. Maybe, I'm just saying. They haven't talked to me about it, but I'm getting some really heated questions here, so. We have some really very smart minds in this room, so let's, maybe these committees will suggest something.
Anything else? Otherwise, we'll call on the question. All those in favor of approving or accepting whatever, the April through June 2020 court report, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. I take that as unanimous. Anything else, Judge?
Other than thank you all, and everybody stay well. I'm really just happy to see everybody's face that's here. I don't want to see any of the people we work with or any of our community members, you know, getting sick. So take care, everybody.
Agreed, Kate. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Next item, treasurer's report. Karen.
I can keep it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You have before you bank reconciliations for January, February, March, April, and May of 2020, and also the Stockman Bank June collateral reports regarding monies held over $250,000 in an account. and I ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Rich, seconded by Bill. Discussion. And I'm assuming that was all of the reports that were just listed, correct, Rich?
I think so.
This is the rest of the reports from the year.
Oh, that's listed here, yeah.
Call for question.
Questions being called for, or does Rich have anything extra?
No, I don't.
Okay, the questions been called for to approve the January 2020, the February 2020, March 2020, April 2020, May 2020 bank reconciliation reports, and the Stockman Bank June 2020 collateral report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that as unanimous. And we'll have June's in the next meeting. We got that one done too, so. Okay, any questions for Karen? Okay, we'll move on. Tree board. Mary Jo.
We had a meeting last Monday evening, but so those minutes will be in your next packet. And I think you all have probably noticed that we finished Swenson Way, what we would be doing this year. So it's finished, the whole south end is completely finished, and we've received lots and lots of nice comments about that. So, and we're thankful that the city participated, and Billy Allen participated, and it really is a nice project.
Okay.
I wanted to talk with Lacey, but I just can't run into her. I just see her driving around in the truck, but I always want to ask her, because she's the one who put the bug in the ear that we needed to redo Swenson Way. It was such a bear to manage and to maintain, and she felt it was a incredible roadway for noxious weeds from one side of the road to the other, and it was just impossible for her. So I'd love to hear how it's going now.
Okay, yeah, just, when you see her, just grab her, talk to her, it's fine.
Mary Jo, who's responsible for maintaining that now that it's done?
The city is responsible for maintaining it. We have the underground sprinkler system, and the part that's by the Y mows, but the rest of it, the city mows. And it's sprinkled, it has an automatic sprinkler system in it.
Why did we take that on? And when do we vote to take it on, was my question.
I don't know. I assume when it was dedicated to the city, when Swenson Way was put together. I wasn't on the council at that time.
It was before my time. I cannot tell you the exact date.
It just seems strange to lump it in with the rest of our bills for the city parks and such to maintain that, considering all the rest of the boulevards are maintained by the property owners.
I agree.
It's kind of a strange thing, and when we first started, we looked for ownership papers, and all we found was that the Swensons put in the whole project, and they put in the original sprinkler system, and they put in the original landscaping, and then they dedicated it to the city, and the city accepted it. And so we presumed from that, and from Lacey works through the Parks Department, and she's the one who told us that it was taking an inordinate amount of her time to take care of that, of Swenson Way. So that's why the parks, that's why the tree board took it on, was to try and alleviate some of her workload, because the tree board pays for part of Lacey's salary.
And the other one is not parks, it's street
It's not parks,
maintenance.
it's tree board.
Street maintenance. Tree board pays half, street maintenance pays half of Lacey's salary.
No, okay.
So it's not
Lacey
Lacey
was
at all.
full grant. Okay.
We are charging Parks though the water. We water all that.
Is it possible we could look into that, see if we actually are the ones that's really in charge of that, or is that just one of those things that?
Well, the YMCA takes care of their part, and I've been trying to work with the people, the Beaverhead Development Corporation, they own the other chunk, up to where the fish pond is. That is BLM or whatever.
Fish and game.
Fish and game, sorry. Yes?
I think we dug into that a few years ago, and the reason that the city takes care of it is because of the walking path.
The walking path that goes down was a contract that they set up with the trails.
And that's
I believe it was. When they put it there and that bridge and all that that's been set, we took that we were going to fix that and keep it going. So that was a contract with the YMCA and the Trails Association, that we would keep up that trails.
It was in the Swenson documents when they did that. It's because they were dedicating the walking path that the city took that on as maintaining it.
The Trails Coalition just did the connector from the Y Trails over to Park Street.
Okay.
And the white trails was 20 years after the Swenson thing, so I can't say the Swenson mentioned dedicated trail wasn't there, would be conceivable.
In the Swenson documents, it does have the page where they dedicate it to the city.
Right, but what I'm saying is, at the time they put Swenson Way in, none of that property there belonged to anybody. The YMCA was not conceived
Oh, right,
there.
yeah.
The fish pond was not, the fish pond was conceived there, but it was not dedicated to the fish pond was for piece that, the Beaverhead Development Corporation. None of that was originally going to be owned. So when they put that in, I can't see them saying, and you guys will take care of the trail we put behind the Y, when the Y was not even mentioned, and putting even a twinkle in anybody's eye being there. There was no trails, when they put Swenson Way in there, trails was not an issue any place on the plat, I would bet you.
No, that was that came later,
Well,
and it's
but-
mentioned in there, but in the original document,
Dedicated the ground to the city because
Right.
it's a city street, and that's why you go in the subdivision, you give them the city street. But I can't imagine anybody in there said, okay, well, we'll go ahead and take care of all this. It'd be the only street in the subdivisions of Dillon that the city agreed to take care of the streets. I mean,
Could it have been part of the parks dedication?
no. I mean, it could have been, but what I'm saying is none of that stuff was even thought of when they did Swenson Way. You know, Swenson Way's been there since 92, 93, somewhere in there. YMCA was not planned on being in there for 10 years after that.
yeah, I
So
don't
I don't
know.
think anybody at ESP could see into the future when they did that.
You can come in and go through the file if you want.
It could have been part of their
I
park,
mean, they
it could have been
dedicated
part of
it.
their park designation.
Well, no, that wasn't, that was the city street. When you do a park or do a subdivision, you dedicate the seats to the city. I mean, that's standard procedure. It isn't,
Agreed.
I don't know.
We'll look into it, try to figure it out. We can't promise I'll have it all figured out by
I mean, we don't
finance
take
time.
care of the stuff across the street.
Well, there is personal sidewalk there.
Right, so what I'm saying is we don't take care of the stuff across the street. It's the same dedication.
And I kind of think that the YMCA took over and they take care of their part. The other part that's been fixed up, that part, is Beaverhead Development Corporation, and I think the past director of operations was on the Beaverhead Development Corporation, so the city started taking care of it. My feeling, and it never has stopped.
Right.
So, okay, ready to move on? But I'll look into it and verify what I just said on all of it.
But either way, the work that's been done on Swenson Way has made it really, much easier to maintain and I mean, it's a quick mowing job and the water goes off automatically every day and, I mean, it's not hard to keep up anymore. And things don't grow across the sidewalks and, you know, it's a lot better.
Okay. Board of Adjustments, I think, Gannon?
Yes, before you, and I don't know why it's so late. Meeting minutes for November 19th of 2019. Ask for your approval.
Bill made the motion, who second?
I did.
Matt second. Discussion, and that's still set, not approved.
Oh, excuse me, it's
Call for the question.
Question has been called for to accept the November 19th, 2019 meeting minutes of the Board of Adjustments. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, that's unanimous.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes?
before we move on to the reports of standing committees, we've been at this for over an hour and a half. Could I ask for a short intermission?
Well, I suppose we could. Let's, are we done with the Board of Adjustments?
Only one question here, Mr. Mayor. Dan, haven't you guys had other meetings since this?
Yeah, that's what I say. I don't know why this was so late. Or it must have got dropped through the cracks somewhere.
These minutes would have been approved at the last meeting.
But it hasn't been more than one meeting?
We've only had one.
We're having one next week.
Yeah, we've only had one. Well, we've had one and then we have that joint special meeting.
Okay, so that's why.
So that's
I was just
yeah.
wondering if we're having a problem with the secretary.
No, we're not. Not at all.
Thank you.
And I guess we're supposed to have one Tuesday, you said?
Tuesday at noon.
And now don't we also have the judiciary meeting on Tuesday?
We do.
Tuesday night, or Tuesday afternoon, 4.
4 o'clock.
4.
Okay.
I'll get that out Friday.
And you go to the zoning meeting at 7 if you wanted to.
Okay, it's been requested, so what, a 5-minute? 5-minute recess.
We're good waiting. Yeah, I told him, I'm selling around roads. I'll just honk and be on my way. What brings you in today? Oh, okay.
Sucks to be old. Sucks to be old.
You realize with the new ordinance, you can't wear your mask that way. Over my nose. It's got to be over your nose. If you put it over, then you buy it. So it's got to be over your nose. That's the description.
Oh, I guess it is.
It's got a wire in
Short of
it.
a nose, then.
Well, you have to get longer than your nose.
I just don't lie.
So how's everything over on Glendale?
Perking along. It's got a hell of a dry spot in the lawn next door for some reason.
Is that right?
They've been watering with a hose while Jim's gone. He's due back on Saturday.
No.
I don't know what causes that dry spot. There's something wrong with the sprinklers right there.
Back in the back there, you mean? Yeah. I think it's some kind of hard pan or something on the ground, yeah. He's tried everything to get, I bought some grass seed here a couple of years ago and tried overseeding it.
Bring in some topsoil or some mulch or something.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's one of those.
Because there are sprinklers on that, aren't there?
Right there, yeah, I think that one sprinkler head does hit it.
Because I know there's some on
One
the
right
edge.
along the fence.
But I don't know if they got that far.
Yeah,
That was my question.
yeah.
I never looked.
Yeah.
Come think of it.
Well, it's been a while since I've been over there tuning them up too, but I think that one does reach, but there's no overlap.
Okay.
If I remember.
That might be the problem.
Yeah. But he's tried watering it, it just, nothing wants to grow there.
What are those little trees out front that grow up from the lawn? They must be just tall since he mowed last time.
They're just shoots off of that. Well, I think some of them are actually that mountain ash. I don't know if they're shoots or if they're seeds.
Looks like they're seeds that they're alongside the house.
Yeah.
Mountain ash, mountain ash. Which one's the mountain ash?
That's that little tree.
Oh, the little one, okay.
Yeah, closest
But not the
to
red one.
No, that's the Canada cherry. Canadian cherry, Canada cherry.
Oh, okay.
And those sucker. But they usually sucker right around the base.
Canadian cherry.
Yeah, and I hit that with Roundup, those suckers right around the base of it. And some of them further out might be coming up off of that too. But they look a lot more like that mountain ash.
Okay, I didn't know it. They're just nice, fast growing.
Yeah.
John was looking for some fast growing trees. I thought,
Go ahead and
maybe go over and core a couple out.
Yeah, go ahead and harvest a couple of them. Let me know what happens. See, we got a nursery there.
I don't know. I was just surprised it grew that much, that fast.
Yeah.
He's been down, what, a week now?
Yeah, about that.
And those stupid trees, some of them are that tall.
Is that right?
Yeah, you almost be able to watch them grow. The rose bush smelled good this year.
Yeah. Everything really did pretty well.
That clematis went berserk in the backyard.
Did you see that? We had that cut right down the ground.
Yeah, I thought for sure it was dead.
Yeah.
Boy, it went.
Yeah, mom planted that and the rose bush too, so I've been kind of trying to keep them going. We've got a new trellis for the clematis.
Keep cutting.
Well, the clematis, there's two different kinds apparently. One you cut back and one you can't.
Yeah.
That's the one you cut back.
That's what Jim told me. He'd done a little research on it. We didn't really have any choice. We had to cut it out of there. It was just, and the trellis was all broken up.
Yeah, the trellis was tired.
Yeah.
The new trellis is nice, but you can see of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how that stuff grows that fast.
We were back in the Midwest one time, and people's houses right next to a big cornfield. The corn stalks were almost the height of that air conditioner. He said, if you sit here and listen, you can hear the corn grow.
Yeah.
Because of the heat and humidity.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
No, we spent, as you know, several years in Indiana going to school. Yeah, you drive out through those cornfields, and it's a different experience.
Yeah. You go in 2 rows in the cornfield and turn around, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You better tie the string.
It is knee-high by the 4th of July.
Yep.
And the pumpkins ripen at the time that you read about in school books, October.
Yeah. And you should bring us in pumpkins too.
Yeah.
So these ones we get. Jim was trying to grow a watermelon or cantaloupe last year.
Yeah, what were those melons?
They're Israeli.
You got the name.
They're just supposed to get softball size.
Yeah, but
I don't know how those turned out.
They didn't do well. He didn't try them this year. He gave Linda a couple of those to try, and we didn't make progress.
I was going to try to make it.
Take it out of your salary?
Yeah,
Take $2 times 5.
I go buy 2 or 3 boxes for that price. Hey, Lord.
Hey, I got some really good shit you want to somebody came in and gave us some masks.
Did they?
Yeah, from rural water.
Yeah.
And they said it was, where's the Used by FEMA.
That was darn. One of those filters out. I recommend going to a building and check everybody's filter out this oxygen. Put it right here. Read it normal. Which was the same as what the room said. Put a mask on. I need to read the one the next council. Well, the one with the deal was supposed to be exhausted. That was the worst. Lone Ranger. No, I mean, and most of them were down, which firefighters have. Their oxygen.
I bought one, I still have it. I was lacquering some doors thing, with lacquer. Like one of those single things that come out and there's multiple films.
Everybody ready?
Got lacquer out. Yep. I was hired to cut that Richard for.
I think we're ready. Okay, I'll go. Next item on the agenda is to do.
No meeting, no report. We do have a meeting on Tuesday at 4 o'clock.
Okay, Finance Committee, Mr. Hand.
No meeting, no report. We do start tomorrow, however, at 4 o'clock, isn't it?
Yes.
With budget?
Yep, 4 o'clock.
That special budget request, make sure the mayor knows what they are. Thank you.
Next item, fire and order, Mr. Schaefer.
Move to approve.
By Don. Discussion. Can you hear us? And I'm assuming Chief. During discussion on minutes.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve meeting minutes of the Fire and Order Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that as unanimous.
And then I have one action, approve the interlocal agreement with Fire District 2 to fire department personnel and open fire chief position for hiring.
Move to approve.
Second.
To move by Raymond, seconded by Dan. Discussion.
Submit that's quite the document on page 4, Article 5, page 5, Article 6. That was obviously written about 3 times, about got dizzy trying to read it all. I finally figured it out that everybody's responsible for their own stuff and not responsible for the other guys. That was good. Very good, thank you.
And this was when over Mr. Dolan talked with the attorney for the fire district, correct?
Yes.
And they worked it through, and then they showed it to me, and they showed it to the district. The district voted and accepted that, and came to the fire and order committee. Now it's in for approval. We already got these.
Call for the question. You knew what I was talking about.
What number are you at?
Does Rich have anything?
I think I was on horse race.
Oh, okay. Question's been called for to approve the interlocal agreement with Fire District Number 2 for the fire department personnel and open fire chief position for hiring. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that as unanimous. And I heard Rich say aye. Anything else, Bill?
Right. No, that's it.
Okay. Next item, health and welfare. Mary Jo or Matt, either one.
We didn't have a meeting, so there's no matter.
Okay. We're on the next one, cemetery, Matt.
No meeting, no minutes.
Parks Committee, Mary Jo.
Yes, before you is the minutes of the Special Parks and Playground Committee meeting of June 26th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Matt, discussion.
See, from the only item on the agenda was to approve a shelter that will provide shade for the splash pad. It will be located immediately south of the splash pad, and it will be a cement pad, and it will be a wooden structure, and it will be complete with picnic tables. And you can see the picture of what it will look like. During a very important question, and he asked Mr. Hazelbaker if a structural engineer had looked at these plans and approved them. And no, and then the question was, well, the legal engineer should look at these. Mr. answer was, after going through the last 2 weeks with the park, with the splash pad and other issues of the park, if somebody wanted to ask that question again and require that, it would be a good idea. I think that unfortunately the park has had a lot of problems that if one more set of eyes had looked at the plans, possibly some of the silly mistakes that were made wouldn't or would be taken care of. And I shouldn't call them silly, they're just mistakes that were made, such as the bathrooms not being vented to the outdoors, or the mechanical room not being vented and having a buildup of gases such that the motherboards would corrode. And if we had one more set of eyes looking at things, maybe those kinds of mistakes wouldn't happen.
Well, first let's approve the minutes.
Call for discussion.
We call for the approved June 26, 2020 meeting. What did you say, Rich?
Those points, I remember asking the question, and I remember the answer. And it was that they had not had a structural engineer, but as some professional abilities, not an SE at the end of their name, that looked at it, and specifically the CAD drawings for the redesign of the trusses. Because originally they were going to be steel, and were going to be wood. And so I think the CAD loads on there that review the main risks of any system like this area would be snow loads in winter, and obviously the structure is not going to be probably used during that time. So I'm satisfied with you at this point that if somebody wants to throw in those trucks.
Our question to see this in favor, say aye. Aye. All those. Okay, I think that's unanimous. Do they have a motion to approve, and then we can get further discussion?
Building shade. Park.
Been moved by Bill, seconded by Dan. Discussion.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, the last sentence talks about chlorine rusting in certain boards, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I was.
Yeah, that is correct.
What was your point, Councilman?
You don't usually rust a circuit board, but a circuit board per se is not made of anything that will rust.
I believe, I remember it, Nick's discussion of this item was with it rusting, but he could have meant corrosion, I don't know.
As far as the shelter goes, I guess I have a couple of concerns with it. Back when Huntley and Brinkley report started building Big Sky, they hired a California crew to come up and put in the buildings. Well, they were used to California, they put flat roofs on them all. First snowfall came in, they had to replace the roofs. They had a pitch similar to what's shown here. Second question is, a lot of the metal frames, metal roofing requires a certain pitch, or they won't guarantee their product. Does this meet that pitch requirement? That was my second
We don't know, there is a.
Your question is,
I don't know.
siding with metal roofing.
And also says they've got, they're the ones that build engineers put this on here.
Right. Once
But
again,
we don't have pitch here.
And yes, they do have structural engineers that review all their trucks. Sound that way. It's designed for a snow load. I just question warranty. I don't think we need to get into something that we can't maintain. City parks can be extremely expensive to maintain when it gets dumped in the city's lap a couple of years from now. I hate to add anything to that since it's going to make it worse. As I assume these trusses will just be bare wood and not be painted or stained or anything.
They're going to be wrapped with cedar or stained, one or the other.
The trusses?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Or just the edging around?
The soffit.
Okay, the soffit's different from the trusses.
Yeah.
Similar to the pavilion, similar looking to the pavilion.
Yeah, because these trusses, if you're going to treat those, that's very labor intensive.
You know, we did not have that particular question, nor did we have a particular answer to that question. I think one of the things that you miss by looking at these documents is that you, when they put in that cement pad, they are going to, a brand new sprinkler system has been put into J.C. Park. That will be ripped out. It will have to be redone. You know, I had a couple of people look at these. We received these documents. No, we received these the day I wanted to table it because I didn't think we had something that day. The committee, I had a couple of people look at this and they're concerned about the thickness of the pad and its ability to hold up with Montana winters. And then we kind of talked about how they were going to connect the picnic tables to the cement. And there are some other issues there. I think that we should have some of the ways that they were talking about chaining the picnic to the structure itself might weaken or give an avenue for moisture to go into the cement. So I guess after going to that meeting and thinking about it for a whole week, maybe in the council's wisdom, they may want to require us to be.
We'll have to move the table it so it can be reviewed here.
I would remind the councilwoman that the vote on the motion to move it to the council was unanimous.
It was. You're right.
Who's paying for this?
Thank you, I was just about to ask that.
The park, the J.C. Park.
The J.C. Park Committee's paying to have this done.
All of it.
I agree with Mr. Hand. I think that there should be a structural engineer look at this. Like you said, this is all going to be dumped on the city eventually. We don't need another problem down the road.
Well, and I talked to Mr. Volek after, he probably should He doesn't want it done necessarily this year, because by the time they get to it, it'll be fall. So he was okay with next year and going there.
Even with that said, we are all in uncharted territory. We have no idea how many people are actually going to pay. And if this is eventually going to fall on the city to maintain key, I don't think our budget can withstand. I mean, I think chief of police, I think Hazelacre, I think several people are going to be sitting in that mayor's office relatively soon talking about adjusting their budget so that we can cash flow. And the idea of putting something for shade when we got tons of shade trees around just doesn't seem like the best way to spend citizens' money at a time when the governor has just put out a new directive. And this could change in 3 weeks and they start shutting businesses down.
Well, we're not spending citizens' money.
I understand Point City to upkeep and maintain. We're not spending the money to build it. We're spending the money on fund to repaint it, do this, do that. And it's gonna have to come from some budget, and I don't think there's any wiggle room in any of the budget to take for a shelter to provide somebody with shade. Go sit under, have a picnic.
I agree that it needs to be done very, very well. There is a big need for a shade, some kind of shaded area at the splash pad. Unfortunately, there isn't a tree. I wish there was.
There's plenty of tree. Not at the splash pad, go stand in the water if you're hot. I mean,
and they were talking.
and the fact of the matter is, we had that new park built. And it was done before I was on council. The park built by fund as a citizen, that the upkeep and the maintenance was then going to fall on the city.
No.
So that's falling on the city.
After 10 years.
5 years.
After 5 years. Even a little over a year, we've got COVID-19 that's hit, that's out of business. A lot of their employees don't have jobs. Our budget is going to reduce, and in 3 years, 3.5 years, we're going to have to start spending money to maintain the splash pad, the park, and all of the other things out of this budget that we haven't spent any money on yet. And now we're talking about, let's build a shade area and 6 picnic tables. We've got to rein that in. I'm not on the budget, I don't, but I can read, and I can add, and I can see there's not enough money in this city's budget to assume more and more stuff just so people feel good. Go sit under a tree, if you're hot, go walk through the wall.
Mr. Kennedy, I just think that this is something that we should send back to the parks for them to discuss and study.
Rich?
Yes, thank you. Council, I heard your comments and concerns. I remind you, we've got the JC. They're a very vigorous and financially, amazingly able organization. And we used to have a park there that had a few rough edges. And they pulled off an amazing job of giving us basically a new park. Now, you may have concerns, and I understand those as far as what the future might hold as far as the responsibility of that. But so far, including the splash pad, they've been very forthcoming as far as supporting any needs that that park had, or at least that we don't. And I don't foresee that organization building or building up their tent and saying, well, we can't do that anymore. I think they're going to continue to support the city in that part. So I'm optimistic that this will all work out in the future as far as anything, including the structure that our organization has supported. And as far as the structure goes, again, to spend $5-10 grand to have somebody with an SE behind their name sign off on the CAD drawings is, to me, not a great investment for a structure. But if it did fail, it would fail in the winter, and if so, then you go back to the drawing board, and the JCs would have to decide to build it or not.
I'd like to correct you, Mr. The JCs is a fine organization, but they weren't the ones who put the park together.
They don't have.
It's another organization altogether.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Yeah. That's been provided with
Any other discussion?
Out of city budget, Mr. Workwood, is there an estimate on what this will cost the community to put this structure up?
In terms of building, the cost as part of the proposal that they are to turn into the city a map of the new sprinkler system, which they will, and some kind of maintained perpetuity.
It wants to build around. Well,
and I'm not part of that.
Okay, so there's no, if the city does have to take over the maintenance of it and it falls apart, then it would be good to know the cost of this one. That would fall on the city. So do they not have an estimate of how much this?
Bill, do you remember them?
They have that is being.
So they think that would cover this?
That
they had not sought out estimate to have it, or the drawings.
Okay, thank you.
There was a motion to table, and I would second that.
Who made the motion?
Mr. Hand did.
Okay. Don made a motion to table. Dan seconded. Now we'll go right into the question. All those in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Okay. To help time, Rich, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not going to poll everybody, we'll just go with that. So I have it tabled.
And Mr. Mayor, does that mean that it should go back to the Parks Committee for more discussion?
Put it on.
Great, I will.
On the agenda. Okay, next item, City Hall Committee, Mr. Ram. No meeting, no report. Again, next one, Street and Alley, Mr. Nye.
Yes, before you have the minutes from January 7th. Ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second. Been moved by Bill, seconded by Matt. Discussion.
I was not at that meeting. It says I was.
Oh. That is correct. I didn't even notice it.
See how important you are.
I don't think that's up to me tonight.
No,
Oh.
Jim Dolan wasn't there.
I did have one comment though. The third paragraph from the bottom, it says, Ed Coalition spoke and said he met Mr. Cotton and they walked in his minutes.
you have Mayor Cotton. I think we probably ought to put David Cotton to make sure he gets. I'm pretty sure he didn't go for a walk with Mayor Cotton. Is that true?
That part is correct because it was, in 1960, it was Mayor Cotton.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
But Mayor Cotton's probably gone to the great beyond.
But you read there, the request in the early 1960s with Mayor Cotton. So that part is
They
correct.
wanted to correct the one below that.
Okay.
The bottom.
Just for clarification, okay.
Yeah.
David Cotton.
Maybe Ed was looking into the future.
Anything else to correct? First off, the correction is Todd Hazelbake. Now those names are removed from staff present. And then on 1, 2, 3, paragraph, first line, it's to be changed to say Ed Mooney of the Trails Coalition spoke and said he met David Cotton, not Mr. Cotton. And that's all I have to change at this point, unless there's any others.
Call for the question.
Street and alley meeting, May 6, 2020, as amended. All those opposed say nay. Take that as Mr. Dine.
Yes, we have one, or actually we have two, yes.
Sort of one related.
Right. First one is to approve recommendation to sell closed portion of Nelson Street between Orr and Dillon to Jim Hagenbarth.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Bill, seconded by Dan, and now we go to discussion. And there are two items actually. To make the motion for the resolution, try to settle. So this really is the time to make a decision. Do you want to start the process, which is to act for that portion of it?
Mr. Mayor, let's bifurcate. Those two. Granite Street is an entirely separate issue.
Granite Street is a screw up on that. That's not what the resolution says.
Yeah, I was confused.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question?
Grant. Yes? Rich?
Okay, so if I understand you, basically, if the council moves to approve the recommendation to sell, and then approves the resolution, at any point during the further consideration of the matter, i.e., whether or not an agreement is reached, a figure is agreed upon, any of that are issues, just proceed a discussion and
What you would do is, right now, you're talking on approving a resolution to start the process of abandoning or vacating, whatever word you want to use, that street portion that was requested. So if you want to start the process, this would be the time. You would then be setting up a public hearing. You would then hear during that public hearing comment from any of the public that want to speak on it. What you're really trying to set up is a procedure that the city follows in state code to discontinue a street. The council may discontinue a street or alley or any part of a street or alley in a city or Dillon, or if it can be done without detriment to the public interest. upon, and then let me just pause here and I'll tell you the rest. But one of the things you guys have to do, the council, is determine, is it a detriment to the public interest? So that's where you be taking public comment, and when you're all done, you'll have another meeting after the public to go over all the items that you've got from the public, also items that's in the record throughout, and then the council will make a determination. If it is, then you pretty much stop the process at that point, and you can't abandon it. But if you determine it's without detriment to the public interest, do you want to do it? You know, and you can say how much money you want to pay. Laura already said that they will pay for whatever the cert or the appraisal. You know, so they'll pay for the appraisal if you guys decide to go to that level. So at any point, you can stop it. You know, so now, the thing is, there's two parts of this also, and I let say anything incorrect. You can do A. 1A is a petition in writing of all owners of lots on the street or alley, or B, a petition in writing of more than the owners of the lots on the street or alley, and 2, approval by majority vote of the council. Okay, so that's how you can discontinue the street, is you get all the owners, or you get more than 50%, and then a majority vote of the council will discontinue. We're also trying to do part 3 of this. It says before acting upon the petition, a notice must be published stating when the petition will be acted on and what street or alley or part of the street or alley is asked to be vacated. The notice must be published and provided as in the standard one that says 2 weeks notice and that. So that's in there.
So you're in the hypothetical. Then once
yes.
And then if they do want to proceed at that, so basically the parties agree on whether or not it will proceed. For instance,
Right now, it's just simply the intent to hold the public hearing to engage the public interest. The issues, who pays for the appraisal, who pays for well, then there's also the price like that one too. I'm not saying they will go on, that's not why I'm bringing that up. I'm saying there are issues that would have to be settled at some other time.
I got a question, I guess I don't understand. Is this 2 different pieces of parcel? Or are we moving to approve a piece of ground that we have yet to abandon? Should we have the hearing to decide if they want to abandon the thing before we move to sell it? Isn't that kind of putting the cart before the horse agreeing?
No, that's what I said. It's together, the parts come together. You got to do the resolution to start the process, but this is the time you guys make a decision. Do you want to go or not with it? So we can save money, so we don't have to pay for notice or any of that. This is the time to say, no, we're not even interested in selling. If you're interested in abandoning and selling the property, you know, then you would go forth with the public hearing, have the public hearing, listen to the people. In the next meeting after the public hearing, you make determination of public interest. At that point, if you guys rule that it is, you go to the next level. Okay.
We're approving the recommendation. We can go through the second.
The recommendation is to really start the process, and that is the resolution of intent to do it. So,
and
the recommendation to sell this before we even have the hearing isn't hearing first, and then if the thing comes back, everybody says sell it, and then make the recommendation to sell it. I mean, it's quite obvious, if it's going to sell, it's going to the property owners on both sides, which would be Mr. Hagenbach anyway.
Either one of them.
Sure, well,
There's some decisions still to be looked into and decided.
Okay, but still,
On that.
I guess you see what I'm saying, is I guess I would like to see move to approve the starting the procedure before we agree to sell the piece of property, because it hasn't even been determined if we're gonna abandon the street yet.
Well, I don't think you could have a hearing unless you've got something to hear. And the hearing would be on the recommendation to proceed. If we don't proceed now, then we've got nothing to hear.
Correct.
But you can have the hearing on the recommendation to abandon the street without any questions to the deposition of the property afterwards. I think that's what Mr. Graham is getting. We ought to close the street first, and then if that's the case, do we want to sell? What do we want to do with it?
Right.
I don't understand, right? There are additional.
Then we basically decide to close the street.
Say that again, please.
If we do it that way, council, basically close the street, and then once we decide not to sell it.
That could happen.
The thing on this two additional parcels out there. So we probably should consider, if you're going to abandon that, you abandon all three parcels, not just smaller than this one is.
That's really important.
Well, first of all,
Are you talking about the one?
I'm talking about the ones that are on the rest of Nelson Street up to Cornell Street. There's two additional small portions there.
and truthfully, we do not have a petition. Just without somebody filling out a petition and the request or discontinue. Who is?
The next two parties up. Swanson, and I don't know who's got the other house up next to it now.
Oh,
There's
they
three
got
parcels
trees.
total there.
They got trees on them.
Mm-hmm. That's part of their lawns. Just like Mr. Hagenbach. So you've got the same thing, just that it's not just one parcel. I see your point. You need to have a petition. Did you look for that, or how does the city do that administratively?
And Mr. Mayor,
And it doesn't sum up all of the situations in the city in which we'd be in the same boat that we're talking about issues that have sat for 60 years and essentially haven't been made up. Go ahead, try to reach a resolution. Sit as is unless somebody decides to move. But I think it serves anybody's purpose to try to throw them all in the same bag.
It's kind of like about street closing. I don't know additional parcels either. To be one of some sort.
You might have to request that.
I don't know.
I know the adjacent property owner expressed obtaining that piece of ground that was part of her lawn too. Was it pet? I know it used to be Duck Reavers, that's why I was wondering. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, it seems to me that if we, there's a whole block, Nelson Street, that isn't built, and we are being asked to abandon 1/3 of that block. And if we abandon that 1/3, we are in effect saying we are abandoning the entire block because for that block. This crazy to knock the entire street. 'Cause what do we have left? We have 2/3 of a block of, that is, and that street, or that public benefit, and yet the public would not receive any benefit at all. Even one minor tax.
I don't believe you understand the question, Councilwoman. The public would be receiving a benefit. We would be receiving substantial funds from the party that is petitioning for the.
That is true. Talking about that would not.
And other stuff is on, like, well, they have grass on it. Well, I hope we don't go to that level, because I can show you a lot of property.
But that boulevard is available for the public to use. Used.
If we sell that property. Right now, though, there's nothing to stop. It's a right.
Or a stone wall.
Before me, granted, to allow and to stop them from driving there. Because it sounds like one time did, or 3 times. So they wanted to put so street.
So my theory was that it was a police, but that's okay. We have a different.
Well, we have the physical aspects on the canal. So, the city owns property. There's no, I know of, that's put forth a reasonable argument to say, well, wait a second, the city should keep this land because they're going to continue in the future to extend Nelson Street. That's not a reasonable argument because it would require an extensive diagonal long bridge across the canal in order to extend Nelson Street. And I don't believe with forgetting the pandemic worsening things, I don't believe the city's going to be in any position in my lifetime, certainly, to do that. And then it becomes a question of, well, if nothing's going to get done for the city's benefit, and the citizens' benefit with that land as is, well, good. But it's the city's benefit, and we have some, we're willing to buy the land, I believe, a substantial amount. We have others, namely the that has come before St. Alley's Committee and said, well, wait a second, we have plans eventually to put forward a trail, not anything soon. We don't have anything on the drawing board to do this anytime soon. But we would like to be able to put in a trail there eventually. Well, in order to do that, they'd have to be getting easements from somebody. And he's indicated that he would be unwilling to do that for a variety of reasons, including legal, I believe. Or he'd have to be, or excuse me, he would have to get easements from the city. That's going to be an issue in and of itself in terms of legal liability, I don't see that happening, that the Trails Coalition at any point in the near future to develop that trail. Right. So the reason why we do it was a split vote, 2-1. Because the situation where we can either sit on it and others, after we're gone, will have to deal with it. Or we couple of years and deal with surplus, which is going to remain surplus.
Well, maybe it's the time to open. I bet you there's a couple of them out there fighting to say something. Is that okay?
Sure.
Anybody in the public want to comment on it?
I would like to, Mr. Mayor. Ed Mooney, and I am with Beaverhead Trails Coalition, and I would like to present a case. This is not ready to, and I'll give you some details. I'll try to keep it short. I've kept it to one page of print, and so thank you. Just started without the other end. To start summarizing a little bit, paragraph here summarizes what you were just told. By this piece of property, the Beaverhead Trails Coalition believes and has tried to make a case that there is a public interest in at least maintaining the possibility of a trail at some time in the future. Whether it would be the Trails Coalition that's able to do it or not, it might be somebody's great-grandchildren, but that possibility is there, should be there, and it represents a public interest, and we believe that selling the property would be in a detriment to the public interest. But I think it's important to realize that I'm going to talk about the trail a little bit, but asking to have a trail approved, that would require and like a road that's being built up there right now, building a trail would require city council, and everything we've done, never anything without involvement of the city and the public. So just to put that in perspective, Mayor said, the decision tonight is whether you're ready to move hearings and beginning the process, which may culminate in abandoning and selling that section of the Nelson Street property. Very quickly, I'll just, the fourth paragraph, I summarized the estimates of what the property might be worth based on a couple of appraisals, actually also on the canal, but at the end of streets, not in the middle of one. And then also the Granite Street sale. Looking at those appraisals and that sale would put the value between 50 cents and $1.14 per square foot, or between $3,600 and $8,300 for the parcel. That's depending on how much square footage you use to do that. And so those are just estimates. There are a lot of details on this stuff in the street and alley minutes beginning May 14th. So you can take a look if you're interested. So cost or benefit to the city, financial benefit, is likely not a big deal. Although I know from experience if the city were to turn around and want to buy it back, it would be considerably more. We've been involved in some of these easement things, and so that's just the way it works. There are a couple of other arguments that have been made for abandonment of the trail, and they turn on whether the trail should be built. that include potential conflicts with the Dillon Canal interests and possible city liability. We feel, talking to the canal people and asking, no question that a trail could be built. I want to refer you to the conceptual design I gave you. So along those lines, the interests of the canal with property reserved to put a trail in. Again, whether we do it or somebody else does it, it's to lose it, it would be a detriment to that. That I very important to be resolved forward. The other arguments I don't believe are adequate to move it forward either. But I believe there's some problems with the adequacy of the petition and the sale process. What would actually happen? With respect to the petition's adequacy, I think you may want to ask for an interpretation of what the statute means when it says all owners of lots on the street or alley, or 50% of the owners on the street or alley. I think it's arguable that in this case, the entire Nelson Street. And I don't know, but I think it's a question that needs to be take a chunk out of the middle of a street. Out of my comfort zone. The petition did not include all the people on Nelson Street, and it didn't even include the owner's objection that is being asked to be abandoned and sold in it. So on the petition, meetings there was a petition, and it wasn't done. A good number of the are people that do not own property on Nelson Street. So those would have to be thrown out. And then you can decide whether what's left are adequate or not. Again, I don't think that it's quite baked enough in terms of the confidence. It's a big one that is kind of a wild card, I think. Last paragraph, I tried to outline it, but I'll refer you again to the conceptual design, and maybe do better illustrating it that way. If you look up in the well, first of all, the people on Street and Alley have looked at this a couple of times. Everybody, this isn't engineering accuracy, but delineate approximately the Noble Avenue or the Noble Street right away from Ward Street, approximately, at least from where Nelson's barricaded, to Cornell Street, going north to south. If you look up in the upper right corner there, you'll see the magenta lines, the approximately the Tully Springs. But you'll see that they're delineated way, and the boundary for Mr. Krager, it's Krager's house that's shown in the upper right-hand corner, and the boundary with Tully Springs. There's an area in there that we had some title search done, some title work in 2017 when we were first looking at the possible project, and we could find no record of ownership of that area delineated by the right-of-way and those lines. The Smith subdivision actually excludes that area too. So the ownership actually goes back to at least the Smiths. We did get the original patent of the property that included that 40 acres back in 1887. But we didn't follow it any further. When there was maybe a parcel shown to somebody, not on the tax records, somebody or something, but it's never been. There are a couple of implications there, I believe anyway, if we're right. Hagenbar on the east side of the Nelson owner is unknown. So they right could find a site. Knowing who the owners are, it would in fact be impossible to sell that piece of Nelson Street. So now these are the best hypotheses that we can come up with. What I'm saying is that I believe that this is serious enough for Mr. Dolan or someone to look into it and resolve some of these issues before you folks agree to forward it to a hearing. The petition isn't valid. You would, at this time, it's have, and the other would be minimal. And I'll add one more thing. Proposal to the Street and Alley Committee and indirectly to the Hague. Unreasonable for the city to sell the property at some point when the other issues are resolved. Retaining potential pedestrian a compromise and a win-win for. It's easy to their situation. That's where it is, and I would ask you to table this proposal, and if you feel the need and the desire to turn it down outright. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the committee, first of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for the work you've done. I've never been associated or worked with the committee before, and I'm amazed at the time and effort each of you put into the decisions you make for the city of Dillon. It's truly amazing. You're probably getting paid a penny an hour, which is way below minimum wage. So we'd like to thank you for all your efforts. Mr. Mooney makes this out to be a really complicated case. Against Councilman Hands that got a favor. If you look at the notes in 1958, my father came to the city council with a petition to buy that. Whatever happened to that, I don't know. And we know that that's city property. We have never restricted people going across there. But as having pride in how this town looks, money and landscape, into the city street, mess, and degrade Dillon. And we as ranchers do that with every piece of ground we. So, first of all, I had an attorney draw or look into the case of easements on waterways in the state of Montana, state law. Callie Michaels from Bloomquist, and I had that forwarded to Mr. Dolan for his work. But generally, and he can correct me, if you have a ditch easement, you cannot overlay in the state of Montana another easement for another purpose. And also the law reads, or the precedent of the law is, if you allow an overlay of an easement, or the city allows the Trails Committee to put a path in there that brings more traffic along that canal, it causes a foreseeable tragedy, which has huge liability in regards to personal injury. Because we know sooner or later, courage, travel along. Canal Company is the ace in the hole. And if they don't allow an overlay of their easement, then the question's moot. And Mr. Cottom, president of the Dillon Canal Company, and he's asked me to represent him, indicating that at this point in time, the canal company will not allow another easement to be overlaid on their ditch easement. That pretty much cuts out putting a trail through there. The city continues to own that street that goes through there and doesn't control the access on that street, and someone drowns, they're liable. And that's huge. So if you're talking about value, the few $1,000 I'm going to pay the city for that doesn't compare to the value that I accept to get you out from under the money. Because when I own that, then you have no more liability. And there's no possibility of a trail as long as the canal company says no. Detriment to the public interest. You know, we've been managing and taking care of that ground for the city for 60 years. And what's more detriment to the public interest than allowing us to finally get deed to the ground, or to not do that and continue to allow the liability of unforeseen drowning drain the purses of the city of Dillon? There is no comparison. So, you know, I urge this committee to consider selling that ground to us in regards to the other 2/3 of the street, if that's what it is. You have access. You don't have to come down Nelson. In regards to Mr. Mooney's insinuation that I didn't contact, there's only one person I didn't contact, and that was the people that live in Chaffin's house. They weren't available at that point in time. But you don't have to live on Nelson Street to have a sidewalk that borders Nelson Street. You could be on Orr Street. So I feel that whether or not the mayor validated that list, way out of order. This is out of, because I gathered, I wouldn't talk to our neighbors. We're talking about a neighborhood here. And no one in that neighborhood, that's a neighborhood that's quiet, and no one in that neighborhood is particularly interested in increasing particular traffic in that neighborhood. If any of you have anything in this regard, and Mr. Dolan, if you would like to elaborate on the liability and how severe it is, so answer any questions you might have. Sure.
You may have done this at the very beginning, and if you did, I apologize. Did you introduce yourself and state your name for the record?
No, I certainly do. I apologize. My name is Jim Hagenbart. This is my wife, Lori, and we happen to own this property. And my father and mother built the house in 1960.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You bet.
Mr. Mayor, a couple of quick comments. Okay, so one more. Mr. Hagenbarth wants, Ed Mooney, Mr. Hagenbarth wants to make this about whether or not the trail could be built. This is about whether the potential to build a trail is to be given up. A trail would not be built without agreement with the canal company, by us or anybody else. What we do know is it's sold and there's no provision made for pedestrian and bicycle access for the pedestrian. We do know that it won't, whether we build an issue with our
It was only good for 3 hours.
That's why it's 3 hours. On that end, we don't want to have issues with our. I'm sorry.
Following along.
Hello, Stacy.
Hey,
Rich.
Was it running again?
you got another 3 hours.
Please. Here?
You can wait. So anyway, it's not about whether the trail is built. As I said, the canal company would be involved. Mr. Cottom told me on our visit, and he repeated it in front of the Street and Alley Committee last time, that the concerns of the canal company in general, and he said he wasn't speaking for the board, but in general, the concerns of the canal company has been that they need access to maintain, they need to be able to maintain the ditch. Right now, they're doing that all on the east side, or part of Mr. Hagenbart's yard would be subject to the same restrictions. The city, if an easement per se is a problem, there may be outlined kind of a triangular area in orange there on that conceptual plan, about a little less than 4,000 square feet. If the law provides for it, the city could easily sell that part of it to the Hagenbarths and retain the rest of it. As far as the liability, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm repeating some of what was said at the Street and Alley Committee. But I look around and I see trails along water bodies and ditches. The Pigtail Trail crosses the ditch on the between the YMCA. That's one that we were involved in. We're in the process of taking ownership of the Cornell Park. That adjoins waterways and comes with all the risks of any waterway. The city has liability, as I understand. I'd like to visit with Mr. Dolan and learn every one of the public
amenities. You don't, if somebody slips and falls on the sidewalk, you don't necessarily end up in a lawsuit and a big deal. Any trail that would be constructed by the Trails Coalition or anyone else would have to be built to the highest safety standards. And it's never done any differently. So if large of the users, I've been told for the city to be liable for things. So these things tend to get overblown a little bit. Mr. Hagenbars said the petition would be Arizona, Nelson. Hey, the involved on the east side of the canal, that the owner, as I understand the process, I think Raymond alluded to it, seeing the statute or anything, but I've been told by several people, at the First Street and Alley meeting, of the street to adjacent property owners on either side. Well, like I said earlier, of the proposed abandonment and sale, so they weren't on the petition, and they could not buy half of the property. So thank you very much.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, you got time? Dave Cottom, representing the Dillon Canal. Mr. Mayor and the councilman, I did have we had a quick meeting with the Dillon Canal board members, and as far as it was 100%, it is, you know, real poor section of the ditch. Large excavator in there probably 8 years ago on the east side. You know, it's a difficult place. It's a slow place in the creek or in the ditch, and so the sediment settles in there. We have to scoop that out and set it up on the bank. But anyway, the Dillon Canal board members are against any trails there, so we would not grant an easement at this time. And let's see, the other issue is he was talking about a liability, and I think, you know, if you have and I'm not an attorney, I don't know this, but, you know, to me, I look at a ditch as owned by, you know, you have shareholders, there's more liability. If it's along a creek, there's who owns that creek. I would say there was a lot less liability on a creek or something like that. But anyway, just that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
At some point, I'd like to comment on specifically Mr. Mooney's presentation, but I'll leave it up to you as when you want me to do that.
And now's probably the time. Try not to make it 15.
No, everybody. What is the value of the property? I will be the first to vote against this sale at whatever appropriate point. Once the appraisal is made, which I believe, correct, that Mr. Hagenbarth has volunteered that he will pay for that. And if that appraisal on the basis of the presentation by Mr. Mooney, I'll be the first to say I'm species. I've not gone out of my way to just what I assume to be a big question, who I would not name. Own swag I pays for. When we compared, they had exactly the same number as I had, substantially Mr. Mooney's estimate. As to the basis of is the issue that it might not be is, as to the east side easement access for equipment, that is on the east side, not involving the city property, not involving potential purchase of Mr. Hagenbar for his family. Interestingly enough, and my committee members may correct me if I'm wrong, but I learned in the process of the long discussion at the committee level that the canal, this was obviously a prescriptive easement, and the land underneath is not owned by the canal. And the city's situation as of that waterway, I think the liability is comparable to a small. The drowning is obvious, and at some future date, hopefully, will just be theoretical. But it's substantial. And so if the city can get rid of the issue of the property, get some good needed funding in handy for the city and its taxpayers, I think. That's about all I have to say. Many other points, and I'll leave it to others.
Thank you. Any others? So long. That's what what was?
We've received, and then, I guess I council people know that I did go by yesterday and give an idea for a couple of hours about this project, and so learned much more. Expected that there would be additional materials, which I hope that those. But I think there to be no, and I make a decision until we receive all of that information.
What information?
About the packet that Jim delivered last at noon-ish or so, right?
I believe your aspects that I had Michael's delivered to Mr. That's important information. That's the bottom of this case.
I've reviewed it. I mean, it certainly germane to the issue.
It is. I thought it was just sent to the attorney.
We're really transparent people.
Okay, that was my mistake. Council having a discussion with the attorney to get him prepared on what the whole status is.
With that, Mr. Mayor, then I would ask that they would get that information.
Okay, it's been moved by Dan, seconded by Mary Jo to table until we get information from the city attorney on several items that's been presented. Is that a good way of saying the motion?
Are we tabling both? I guess I'm kind of confused now.
No, we're tabling the one.
Would, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
would that include the questions that were raised about the ownership and the petition?
I would say it brings upon several of these questions, would you not, as council? You know, Mr. Mooney's concerns and also Mr. Hagenbar's concerns, and the Dillon Canal's concerns.
I guess the reason I asked that question, the number one, to approve the resolution to start the procedure, I believe the petition is enough to start that. Now, if in this start of this, my argument against approving to sell it before we do the streets. I would like to move that we go ahead and approve the petition to start it. We have the petition here, and if through all this legal work, if it turns out with it, then we'll stop it, but we'll have to move forward.
Well, I kind of agree with Mr. Dolan. How did line item B under 7-14-40 says that more than 50% of the owners of lots on the street or alley, all of Nelson? Or does that encompass just the portion that?
That's one of the questions that he's.
Well, but he's going to move forward with a petition, but you've got to have that in the petition for us to move forward.
So, Mayor, you have a motion to table that takes precedence. It's not a discussable item. It needs to be voted on.
Okay, the motion to table to let the city attorney present to the council when he is finished with it, hopefully not very long, and by next council, what his findings of facts, or however you want to say, legal conclusion, whatever way you say it.
I think you're asking for an opinion letter.
Yes. Yes, we are. So, all those in favor of tabling?
Point of order. Has that been seconded?
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you.
All those in favor of tabling until the city attorney produces an opinion on these questions, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Okay, take that as unanimous to table until we get a few legal.
Mr. Mayor, I think Mr. Baker.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you when you voted.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I've been dealing with quiet and title and lands all my life, and if I may, I would like permission from the mayor and the council to have my legal counsel provide, who was very well versed in those issues, to provide additional information to the city attorney, Mr. Dolan.
No, I don't. At the point, he has to actually write the opinion.
He has to write the opinion, and I don't know how much.
Any information that might help understand, he's still free to make his own conclusion. That's what I hope he does.
Oh, he will.
Is-
With stuff he may not know a lot about.
So I don't see a problem in that unless other people.
I work with other attorneys all the time on those kinds of things.
Thank you.
Possible that we can make sure that besides the questions of liability that, or you're going to give us opinions about, could we make sure that we answer those questions, like what should the petition, what are the metes and boundaries that the petition should include? Should it include all of Nelson Street or just a portion? And that little part over there. And then, what do we call this, Raymond? This part right here?
Mr. Mooney's proposal to the street.
Is that even
That's not a legal measurement.
legal to
Sure,
the?
you can go ahead. That's his proposal to the street.
Okay.
Part of the Pleasant Street.
Opinion. Cover, like I said, Mr. Moody's handouts, Mr. Hagenbar's, you come up with, we'll try to. I said we, it's really going to be Mr. Dolan.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes?
Point of order question. Since I'm participating by Zoom, could a copy of Mr. Mooney's be put in my box? Do we have to now also somehow dispose of 8.8.1 point? The second, the resolution itself, do we have to move on that, or is that?
Now we tabled the whole issue.
It's all good.
The whole issue's been tabled, so we're gonna just continue.
Thank you.
Okay, we're done with the issue. For now. Next item, Water and Sewer Committee, Mr. Hand.
No meeting, no minutes, no report. Thank you.
Okay, last one, public comment on item of significant public interest not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the city.
I think we wore them all out.
Move to adjourn.
I think, with everybody in theory, we're going to go back to our original thing, we're starting to be way more heavy than it's worth.
It's quite problematic.
Get closer.
I said, with, how to have up to 50 people, hopefully more than two, but I think the Zoom, all the trouble we're having with the Zoom, and if I recall, our have to be present to vote. And I think we need to start enforcing that, and then people, council people should be present in the bill. From the seat. I think council losing a lot of information. There's stuff out. And I really just think that we need to, unless things get worse, anytime we do anything of any importance to the city, we need to have the council present in the building to do it.
Okay, I can't speak for Councilman Swan, but he's also participated in Zoom. I hereby state that my doctor's recommendation is stay home for time, basically, until phase 3. And so I'm formally requesting a KDA designation Zoom as a ADA.
Okay, we will get Mr. Dolan looking into the ADA on Zoom and see if there's any right of it or not. Search in the corner over there, we can look in that might really on this item.
So I want to thank you all for your stand.
Any other? Mr. Dolan and Mr. Hazelbaker, he's trained in ADA some. We also have sources of ADA. And we'll get with her to try to determine this question. Second. Moved, Bill, second by Ray.